Exodus chapter 12. Adonai spoke to Moshe and Aharon in the land of Egypt. He said, "You are to begin your calendar with this month. It will be the first month of the year for you. Speak to all the assembly of Israel and say, on the 10th day of this month, each man is to take a lamb or kid for his family, one per household. Except that if the household is too small for a whole lamb or kid, then he and his next-door neighbor should share one, dividing it in proportion to the number of people eating it. Your animal must be without defect, a male in its first year, and you may choose it from either the sheep or the goats. You are to keep it until the 14th day of the month. Then the entire assembly of the community of Israel will slaughter it at dusk. You are to take some of the blood and smear it on the two sides and top of the door frame at the entrance of the house in which they eat it. That night they are to eat the meat, roasted in the fire. They are to eat it with matzah and maror, bitter herbs. Don't eat it raw or boiled, but roast it in the fire, with its head, the lower parts of its legs, and its inner organs. Let nothing of it remain till morning. If any of it does remain, burn it up completely. Here is how you are to eat it, with your belt fastened, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And you are to eat it hurriedly. It is Adonai's Pesach, Passover. For that night I will pass through the land of Egypt, and kill all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both men and animals, and I will execute judgment against all the gods of Egypt. I am Adonai. The blood will serve you as a sign marking the houses where you are. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. When I strike the land of Egypt, the death blow will not strike you. This will be a day for you to remember and celebrate as a festival to Adonai. From generation to generation, you are to celebrate it by perpetual regulation. For 7 days you are to eat matzah. On the first day, remove the leaven from your houses. For whoever eats hametz, leavened bread, from the first to the 7th day is to be cut off from Israel. On the 1st and 7th day, you are to have an assembly set aside for God. On these days, no work is to be done, except what each must do to prepare his food. You may only do that. You are to observe the festival of matzah, for on this very day I brought your divisions out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you are to observe this day from generation to generation, by a perpetual regulation. From the evening of the 14th day of the first month until the evening of the 21st day you are to eat matzah. During those 7 days no leaven is to be found in your houses. Whoever eats food with hametz in those 7 days is to be cut off. Whoever eats food with hametz in it is to be cut off from the community of Israel. It doesn't matter whether he is a foreigner or a citizen of the land. Eat nothing with hametz in it. Wherever you live, eat matzah. Then Moshe called for all the leaders of Israel and said, "Select and take lambs for your families, and slaughter the Pesach lamb. Take a bunch of hyssop leaves and dip it in the blood which is in the basin, and smear it on the two sides and top of the doorframe. Then none of you is to go out the door of his house until morning. For Adonai will pass through to kill the Egyptians. But when he sees the blood on the top and on the two sides, Adonai will pass over the door, and will not allow the slaughterer to enter your houses and kill you. You are to observe this as a law, you and your descendants, forever. When you come to the land which Adonai will give you, as he has promised, you are to observe this ceremony. When your children ask you, 'What do you mean by this ceremony?' say, 'It is the sacrifice of Adonai's Pesach, because Adonai passed over the houses of the people of Israel in Egypt, when he killed the Egyptians but spared our houses.' The people of Israel bowed their heads and worshipped. Then the people of Israel went and did as Adonai had ordered Moshe and Aharon. That is what they did. At midnight Adonai killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh sitting on his throne to the firstborn of the prisoner in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of livestock. Pharaoh got up in the night, he, all his servants, and all the Egyptians, and there was a horrendous wailing in Egypt, for there wasn't a single house without someone dead in it. He summoned Moshe and Aharon by night and said, 'Up and leave my people, both you and the people of Israel. Go, serve Adonai as you said. Take both your flocks and your herds, as you said, and get out of here. But bless me too.' The Egyptians pressed to send the people out of the land quickly, because they said, 'Otherwise we'll all be dead.' The people took their dough before it had become leavened, and wrapped their kneading bowls in their clothes on their shoulders. The people of Israel had done what Moshe had said. They had asked the Egyptians to give them silver and gold jewelry and clothing, and Adonai had made the Egyptians so favorably disposed toward the people that they had let them have whatever they requested. Thus they plundered the Egyptians. The people of Israel traveled from Ramses to Sukkot, some 600,000 men on foot, not counting children. A mixed crowd also went up with them, as well as livestock in large numbers, both flocks and herds. They baked matzah loaves from the dough they had brought out of Egypt, since it was unleavened, because they had been driven out of Egypt without time to prepare supplies for themselves. The time the people of Israel lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of 430 years, to the day, all the divisions of Adonai left the land of Egypt. This was a night when Adonai kept a vigil to bring them out of the land of Egypt, and this same night continues to be a night when Adonai keeps a vigil for all the people of Israel through all their generations. Adonai said to Moshe and Aharon, "This is the regulation for the Pesach lamb. No foreigner is to eat it. But if anyone has a slave he bought for money, when you have circumcised him, he may eat it. Neither a traveler nor a hired servant may eat it. It is to be eaten in one house. You are not to take any of the meat outside the house, but you are not to break any of its bones. The whole community of Israel is to keep it. If a foreigner staying with you wants to observe Adonai's Pesach, all his males must be circumcised. Then he may take part and observe it. He will be like a citizen of the land, but no uncircumcised person is to eat it. The same teaching is to apply equally to the citizen and to the foreigner living among you." All the people of Israel did just as Adonai had ordered Moshe and Aharon. On that very day, Adonai brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their divisions. End of Exodus, chapter 12.